Hey everybody, good morning. It is 7:59 Monday, the 22nd day of July. Thank you so much for being here. It's your friend James Shaw, and we are in Pivot Shift Ahead on Facebook. We are also on Zoom at pivotshiftcall.com. And we're kicking off something that we're going to do, every Monday for the rest of the year. And if we don't have a Monday call because a holiday, we'll push it to Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever day, but I'll always keep you posted. But I was sitting talking to some people last week, and I'm like, you know what? There's a gap between the people who have said they have read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent and the people who have read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And I can tell based on the conversations that we have. And truth is, there are so many answers to so many challenges and questions inside this book. And so for the rest of the year, we're going to spend Monday mornings unpacking it. There'll be some Mondays that I might do a little bit more teaching, and then we'll take your ahas on Tuesday. There'll be some Mondays where I'll do a little bit of teaching and we'll get your ahas in and we'll just play it by ear and see how it goes. But I thank you for choosing to be with us. If it's your first time, we started this call 4.5 years ago when we were going into the pandemic, and we've been doing it every single weekday since. So you're always invited. We'll be back tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. So you're always invited to be here. And I appreciate you choosing to be here this morning. We always start with a little tell me something good. I always love to hear from a couple of people about something great that's happened. So Natasha Owens, we're going to start with you. Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, well, Mike told me something good. I moved to a new city last year, so I had my first sell and buy. And then on the weekend, I woke up to something a little extra special, and I was so confused, and I got paid for profit share as well. So that was exciting.
That's always a big deal. Congratulations on both of those things. Julie Hess, good morning.
Hey, I just want something different. I had my ice cream social last Monday, and a young gal that I've known since kindergarten that I sold a townhome to a few years ago started dating some guy. So our joke was always like, find out who the guy is. What's his name? What's his name? So anyway, they showed up and I'm like, what's new? And she said, well, Doug's now my husband. I'm like, say what? So he took her up to the Finger Lakes. I wanted to share this guy with you guys. I thought this was really cool. Proposed to her on Friday and got married on Sunday. In 10 months, he planned a secret wedding. She had nothing. Her parents had the gown, like proposed on Friday night, and Sunday they were married. And I just thought that was pretty awesome. For 10 months, he had planned the perfect wedding for her. So I just wanted to share that fun thing.
Well,
And I asked him who his agent was. How's the townhome? Are we moving? Because a lot of times I found out when my single people get married, they use their new spouse's agent. He said, no, you're our agent for life. I'm like, good.
that's great. Makes me think of the bold law, all work expands to fill the time allowed. Julie, thank you. One more, and then we're going to get after it. George, how you doing, buddy?
Very good. I'm doing great. Thanks a lot. Just want to thank everybody for all the good wishes for my shoulder surgery last Wednesday. Back up and kicking it. I've got a great nurse, Ratchet. She's making me stay home a couple days. But other than that, I'm doing great. And I appreciate everybody's wishes and reach out and thanks.
We're glad you're here, George. Glad you're doing well. My something good I just want to share is I want to thank everyone. Last week, we put a big push to raise $40,000 for KW Next Gen in honor of Gary's birthday and Founders Day. We're at 35,000. Today's the last day. So if anybody does want to add on and help us get there, 35,000 is huge. I'd love to get to 40, so I'm dropping the link in the chat if you'd like to support that initiative this morning. And thank you to everyone who has donated so far. We're the top giving community for Founders Day. So I appreciate you all very much. All right, so like I said, we started this call 4.5 years ago as a place for us to kind of get rid of all the noise of the pandemic and get to work and really narrow our focus and keep it moving forward on how we can help people and work together. And I've been Keller Williams almost 20 years, and MREA has been foundational. As a member of at the time, the top selling team in all of KW, it was foundational for us. As a team leader, it became kind of my answer book and my manual that I went into. And then as a KW master faculty member, it's something I love teaching and diving into a lot. And so I want to take some time over the rest of this year, every Monday, to do that, to make sure that we're in the right spot. And the first thing I want to cover, it's on page 37. If you have an MREA, you want to go to page 37. And the first thing I want to cover is this piece about the importance of models. And I'm a firm believer in these. Why? Because people have lived before us, and there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. But it's about the models being the foundation that lead to major opportunity in your world, and then adding creativity later. The challenge that we have is that sometimes we want to get creative without the foundation in the business and we end up creating all sorts of problems. So how do we do that? How do we know that we need to get back to models? What is a warning sign that what the strategy you're currently doing might be too creative and not built on enough foundation? Well, that's this E to P piece. I want to talk about E to P. And if you go to page number 38 in your MRE, and don't worry if you don't have this, I'm putting stuff on the screen and I'll cover it. E to P is exposing itself right now in today's market because the market is changing. And so we're getting a little frustrated or annoyed at it because we're living too much in our entrepreneurial or natural behavior. Here's what the book says. Page 38 of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. A lot of natural ability can lead to overconfidence. Have you ever had somebody say, you'd be really good at this? Boy, this is right up your alley. A lot of natural ability leads to overconfidence. Likewise, a lack of natural ability contributes to low confidence, so much so that many never even attempt tasks that appear to be outside their realm of natural abilities. But here's the truth. The truth about ability is that it's neither set nor predetermined. However, it can be developed or it can be wasted. Okay, are you developing your ability? Are you spending time learning the right strategies and the foundational models and truly developing it? And let me go back. I want to go back to the E to P thing to just make sure you truly get this. Because most of us live in our natural ability all the time. It's very easy. This is the stuff, this is when we say we have drive for something, or we're excited, or we're going to trust our intuition, or we're spontaneous in how we show up. We're living in our natural ability. And Gary, I know it's basic, guys, but this is foundational, so we have to cover it. Gary says that natural ability will take us only so far, and eventually we will hit a ceiling of achievement. Now, we all hit them, always. And the question is, how can we tell? How can you tell if you've hit a ceiling of achievement and it's time to go get purposeful? How do you know when your natural ability, your drive, your intuition has taken you as far as it can take you, and now it's time for you to apply models and systems and focus? I'll tell you, 3 steps. There's 3 things that show up to warn you that you have hit your natural ceiling of achievement and it's time to pause and go look for models and systems and tools to help you. Here are the 3 things. Number 1, disappointment or frustration. Now, just put it in the chat. Has anyone experienced any disappointment or frustration this year in their business about the number of leads coming their way, about seller pricing, like we just spent a half hour talking about on the pre-show, about your process with sellers, about buyers that come in, about your pipeline, about your reserves? If you've experienced any disappointment or frustration, allow that to be your warning signal that you've been in your natural ability, you've been trusting your intuition, you have been using your own enthusiasm about the business or the market or your own drive, and you've hit a ceiling of achievement. That's it. That's your warning signal, disappointment and frustration. And when you experience that disappointment or frustration, here's what you do, is that you go, all right, let me have a breakthrough. Let me have a breakthrough, which you can see right here. I want to have a breakthrough. And in order to have a breakthrough, I've got to apply foundational models, which MRE has, Shift has. We talk about on this call every day. The Inspire Collective has, if you're a member of that. The KWRI and is doing it through the MREA podcast with Jason Abrams. And they're sending out playbooks every Thursday of that. In fact, they've got a great one that came out today about that will help you truly understand how to connect with luxury people. All of that stuff is right there for you. Are you using those models? Are you reading MREA? Are you listening to the MREA podcast? Are you part of the Inspire Collective? Are you downloading the tools and resources available? You got to go apply these models that will give you strategy. They'll narrow your focus. They'll give you systems to implement, all of that stuff. But the challenge is when most of you experience disappointment or frustration, your first thought isn't, oh, I'm missing a model. I'm missing a resource. I'm missing some sort of system. That's not our first reaction. Our first reaction is resignation. Well, the market's just harder right now. Maybe it's just building a team isn't the right thing for me to do, or being on a team isn't where I'm supposed to be. Maybe I should just blow the whole thing up and start over. Maybe I need to switch real estate companies. Maybe the company I'm a part of doesn't know what they're doing. Maybe I need to go work in title. Maybe we start to blame. That's what, when you get disappointed and frustrated, our first reaction isn't usually what model or system am I missing? It is this resignation and blame, where we say it's the market's fault, it's the interest rate's fault, nobody wants to sell, it's the administration's fault, the government's fault. We blame, 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 blame. And the problem with that is now you're stepping away from accountability and you move on to step number 3, which is greener pastures. And that is where you start to look around. Well, if I went to this real estate company, all my problems would be solved. If I joined this team, all my problems would be solved. If I left and blew up my team, then all my problems would be solved. And you haven't solved anything. Because when you resign, when you go to resign and then move to greener pastures, let's just say that you want to blame the real estate brand you're a part of for the problem. And so you leave Keller Williams, you go join some other company. When you go join that other company, you'll go there and you'll have drive and enthusiasm and you'll trust your intuition and you'll be spontaneous and you'll start to see some results. But guess what happens? I'll tell you exactly what happens. You'll hit the ceiling again. You'll hit the ceiling again because you didn't apply any models or systems or tools to help you. You'll just hit it again, and then you'll go through disappointment and frustration. And then you'll go through resignation, and then you go to greener pastures. It's like, do you know the agent in your market who every 3 to 5 years they change real estate companies? Can you think of some of those people? Every 3 to 5 years, they join a different real estate company. And when they join their new real estate company, they talk about how great it is, and how they have the best training and the best broker and the best technology. And then 3 to 5 years later, their broker stinks, the technology didn't work, and the training was horrible. And it's always the same thing. Maybe that's your issue and not their issue. That if you're experiencing disappointment or frustration, I'm being real honest with you. You're missing a model, you're missing a system, you're missing a tool. Let's get you in places that are going to give you those things. Reading the books, being on this call, becoming part of the Inspire Collective, listening to the MREA podcast, and other things as well. All right, that was a lot, Jenny, but I'm going to give you the first word.
You said models and E to P. My heart started pounding and I got really excited. So I took so many notes and ahas along the way, James. Thank you for teaching, because we do need you to teach us sometimes too. I wrote down, no matter where you are. No, let me start over. No matter where you go, there you are. Because that's exactly what happens inside of this. You get going and you think I'm fine, or I don't have enough time to slow down to understand these things, and I'll just be fine. And that I'll be fine piece is where you get to the resignation and the greener pastures. I wrote down, I know when I'm hitting a ceiling of achievement, I feel like I'm stalling out. I'm uninspired or motivated. Things start shaking or balls get dropped because a good system isn't in place, or maybe just life is messy. And so whatever your indicators are that you're getting there, just take note of them and understand. And the other thing I wrote down is understand the models. You don't have to master all the models. You just need to understand that they exist, and then go find the people that are doing that model and model them in their activities. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, and then have some accountability to keep you on track when you go, oops, I had a misstep on that one. How do I get back in alignment with it? But here's the fun part. Most of us, we are really great at this career and this business because we have a naturally high ceiling of achievement. We're starting out a little bit higher than most people out there. So it may take us a while to get to that pain of that year after year consistent production, or feeling, burned out or bummed. But we have to break through, and we do that through all of the things that James mentioned. So yeah, so no matter where you go, there you are. Look in the mirror. It's not them, it's you.
You said something a lot of really smart things, but the one is that most of us on here have a higher ceiling of achievement than others, which is true. And so a lot of times you might be able to accomplish more in your natural behavior than others can. And so you kind of feel you're ahead, which means when you hit the ceiling, you're actually more frustrated because you don't hit it as often. And it's really frustrating. Why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? Pause for a minute and just go ask, what's missing? And again, being on a call like this, folks, if you've been on this call for a while, I promise you've implemented one thing that you've learned on this call in 4.5 years that's had a dramatic impact on your business that you would not have known about otherwise. You would have just been living in your E, but because you're purposeful by being here, your business is getting better. Jenny, thank you. Josie, good morning.
Good morning. Right behind Jenny, you know that once you start talking about systems, they get all fluttery too. And so what it makes me think of, right, is that people have these limiting beliefs, and that oftentimes is what holds them back from learning the plays, running the plays, as you always say, right? And it's so important to be learning based, but not to just learn for the sake of learning, right? There's so many resources that I always say, even just in the Pivot Shift Ahead group, if you go to the like files tab, or if you search for an idea, right? And it's just plugging into those free resources, even like so many different Facebook groups that are available. And who you surround yourself with is what makes a big difference. So for a good amount of us on this call, like we've been here since 2020, more or less, right? And we're here every day being an inspire for me. And I remember the reason that I joined back in like fall of 2021 was because when you first opened it up, I was like, no, I'm on the calls. That's enough. Literally like a month later, I was like, I should have joined when he had it open, because at the time it was open for just a limited like amount of time or whatever. And I realized that like I needed
5:30,
more
so
of
it's a
that.
longer day.
Stand by, Josie. I'm going to mute everybody. All right, unmute and go ahead and finish your thought.
Sorry. So I realized I needed more of that, right, in my day-to-day for just where I was in that space. And so I am someone clearly who is right, very learning based. I'm in all the classes and things, but I implement, right? I soak up what I need to. I don't try to do all the things, but I figure out what's going to work best for my business. I know there's a lot of people probably who don't know what Inspire is. So I would encourage you to just touch on it, because I think it's such a great value that people should know about and figure out if it's something that they should plug into for more of this all the time.
Oh, thanks, Josie. Yeah, it's our private mastermind group. We meet on Tuesdays, noon Eastern, and we're all into models and systems, learning what's working, putting together in a playbook or something so you can go implement. And it's like a buffet. You take what you want and you leave what you don't need. And just like Josie said, because sometimes people are like, I'm gonna get behind. You aren't. Can't get behind. Do you get behind if you don't eat everything at Golden Corral? So, it's just take in what you want and leave the rest. And I'll drop a link in the chat if you want details on it. We're doing buyer process and systems tomorrow as we anticipate the changes coming in August. All right, Dan, back to you on E2P. Good morning.
Good morning. So, one of the benefits of having 5 girls is everyone has everyone's unique strengths and weaknesses.
Dan, buddy, I'm sorry, Dan, but you've got bad internet in your car, and we can't hear you very clearly.
Oh,
so
no.
we'll have to get to you another time.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Hey, Gary, good morning. You have to unmute. I just muted everybody. Gary, go ahead.
Good morning, James. Thanks. So as early in my career, I recognized that I really had to focus, and every lead was precious, and every interaction with the buyer seller gave me an opportunity to improve my craft. How do I get better? How do I handle that conversation a little differently to be more on point the next time I do it? So I think mastering the craft, focusing on the fundamentals, work every lead, play it out, see where it goes, never drop an opportunity, and just keep after it day after day. And don't forget about those fundamentals, because the more deals that we do, the better we're going to be at closing deals and communicating better with people. And I think too many agents stop way too short. They take 3 or 4 transactions and things fall apart, and they're like, oh, this business is no good. There's no leads, there's no opportunities. You just have to keep after it and do enough of them that there are going to be fallouts, but yes, you're going to also connect. You're going to make that solid bond with somebody, make things happen. And by the way, I have the OG version of the MREA book. So
that was published by Relic. So which is Keller backwards, because nobody would publish his book. He had to publish it on his own. That's great. Good for you.
Thanks,
I think what you said is smart. We should devote time to learning every day, which is what you do. It's why we do this call, 20 minutes, 8 to 8:20. We're in and out, just a little bit of learning. MREA says make being learning-based part of your action plan, which is what a lot of you are doing. All right, Bree, you get the last word on this. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for doing this. E to P, I've heard Wendy Harrelson describe it as easy to painful. And to me, when you're going through the business side of it, it feels like you're hitting your head upside a wall, and because you're doing the same thing and expecting different results, which we know is insanity. And you start to see, like, if you look at your multi-year trends, every single year, there's a certain volume that you hit, there's a certain number of units that you hit, and you don't go above that. And I think of that example from Bold when the rocket broke the sound barrier, where we feel like personally it feels overwhelming. We feel like everything is we're just holding things together. And if one thing just hits us, it's all going to fall apart, when it's actually we're moving through that sound barrier to the next phase. But we've got to have the leverage that's necessary. We've got to have the people or the systems or the tools that's necessary to help us break through that next ceiling of achievement. And it must start internally. It must start with ourselves, with our habits and how we're showing up. I have to believe that the vast majority of us that have been on this call from day one and further down the line have this sense of worth, this sense of growth, this sense of evolution, because we have been going from easy to painful. We have been the people now that are up at 7:30 a.m. in some places 4:30 that are up talking about real estate. Like, where else are they doing this? So it's just leaning into the resources that we have and understanding that we have to go through this sometimes in order to hit that breakthrough, but we've got to have the resources in place.
100%, which is why this call is here, and it's free and will always be free, and we're going to do it in perpetuity. And then it's why you got to leverage the resources around you, get into your market centers team meetings, read the book. If you want to invest, do you have a MAPS coach? Are you participating in PC coaching in your market center? Are you part of the Inspire Collective or whatever you need to be a part of? But figure out those things that are going to keep you in the right frame of mind. And, you know, speaking of moving to E2P, I wanted to tell you, Jason Abrams sent this to me last week. Today's MREA podcast, y'all know about the MREA podcast because you should go listen to it. They're interviewing an agent from Boise, Idaho, who is all in on, she's doing $250 million in volume a year in Boise, Idaho through an open house strategy. That's the bottom line. It's 6 open houses every single Sunday, except for major holidays that fall on Sundays. Otherwise, they're doing it. They got a system that works, and it's turning into $250 million in sales volume. So I'd recommend you go find the MREA podcast wherever it is that you listen to your podcasts, because that sounds like to me a system that works. And again, treat it like a buffet. If open houses aren't your thing, what can you learn from that you can implement? And if open houses are your thing, then what is missing from your model that you can apply from her model that will lead to opportunity for you? So that's it. All right, we're out of time. We'll be back tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern. The Zoom room will open, and we'll continue these conversations. We do it every week. And 1 o'clock this afternoon, Inspire members, we have our Summer Surge Challenge. Only 3 calls of the challenge left. So Inspire members, I'll see you at 1. And then tomorrow at noon Eastern, Inspire members, we're doing our buyer process. What's your model around buyers as we prepare for the updates coming up in August? Thanks for being here. You got your inspiration. Go put in the perspiration. See you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, James.